Good afternoon, boys and girls. It's been a minute since I've been here. I don't know why, but happy hump day, everybody. Welcome to whatever the fuck this is, featuring your boy, Broccoli, here to talk shit about mainstream beliefs. That's what I'm here for today. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day. Let me start by saying that. I hope you're all as happy as you can be, honestly. But what I want to talk about today is chemical imbalances, big pharma, shit like that, man. I don't really have any like goals per se, but I'm just gonna talk about it because yeah, it's funny how like irritated people get when you challenge their mainstream belief systems, man. You know, over the course of the last 3 years, we've really gotten a really good look at the medical industry, at big pharma, at the media. We've gotten a big look at everything, kind of, and I have to wonder: has your distrust in the medical industry grown, or have you become more trusting in the medical industry in the last 3 years? Because I'll tell you, from my experience, I was already pretty skeptical of the medical industry, but now I am uber skeptical of the medical industry. Okay, big pharma and doctors, we have an issue here in America. We really do, to where capitalism has superseded the greater good. Okay. The need to generate profit is controlling the entire medical industry. That's my opinion. And I can prove it, really. I mean, I don't even think that this is something you should have to prove anymore because all we have to do is take a good look at the profit and then the quality of life versus profit, I guess. Like, all you have to do is look around. The medical industry, its sole purpose at this point to me is profit. Okay. And yeah, the medical industry is great. I'm glad that we can fix broken legs and arms. And we've made some great medical advances as far as being able to treat diseases and people. But I got to wonder, Brendan, I could see it because you've approved it. Thank you for doing that. And Lauren, I could see your name too. Distrust has definitely grown, and it should. And it's healthy to have distrust in this arrangement because we now know the FDA, big pharma, the government, the media, they're all playing together. Okay, this isn't like a guess or a stretch of imagination anymore, man. You know? And how this got brought up for me today was because I was reading more about SSRIs. And in case you don't know what those are, the serotonin inhibitors, uh, antidepressant medicine. I, you know, I've had a problem with the way that we diagnose and treat mental health issues here in this country for a long time. Okay, my deep rooted distrust for medical industry comes from my treatment as a juvenile for mental health issues. Okay, I'm not ashamed to tell you that I spent several years of my life from age 10, maybe even earlier, to age 15 under the treatment of psychiatrists. I went to different facilities. If you're here in St. Louis and you know about the old Hawthorne, St. John's, Mercy, they are still all owned by the same people. The politicians, yeah, that's what you're talking about. They are all owned by the same people. Just to give you a little bit of back reference, man, I was one of the Ritalin kids from the 80s. Okay. Like, if you know anything about the Ritalin boom in the 80s, you know that schools were paid extra money through federal funding to diagnose children in the school district with ADD, attention deficit disorder. I was one of those children that got the luck of being diagnosed by a counselor, an elementary school counselor, as having attention deficit disorder. So that started me off. I'm going to actually say fourth grade is when it started. So I'm guessing that is like 10 years old, right? So Mrs. Fenizel, I'll never forget her name, Peggy Fenizel. That's who did my IEP. That's who made my assessment. She's not a trained psychologist by any means, not a psychiatrist, a school counselor. Again, okay. And I understand that they have some degrees that would dabble in psychiatry, psychology in order to get the counselor title. But anyway, I think that Peggy Fenisal was underqualified to send me on a 5-year adventure in the medical industry to be doped up, fed Ritalin, medicines I can't even pronounce or remember. And I got to be honest, my memory from ages 10 to 15 is pretty spotty. Okay. I'll tell you, I had problems. And none of those problems were mental health issues. Okay. It hurts people's feelings when you talk about the base root of the problem. But my base root was my environment. Okay. So I was never depressed. I was never any of those things, but I definitely was tinkered with in a medical ideology, brain scans, constant testing, things like that. It didn't help. It didn't help me out, man. And honestly, I could see through the bullshit. I was very young whenever I first had a problem with the chemical imbalance idea, because I said, listen, if I've got a chemical imbalance, then test me and show me what chemicals are imbalanced. They don't do that. That's not, and the whole reason why we're here this morning is because I like to preach ideas that you can fix your own problems, right? So like if you're depressed, and I know that people get mad at me when I say this, but you're in control of that depression. I know it doesn't seem like that, and I know that it's hard, and I know that all the standard excuses of why we stay in that lifestyle cycle, okay? But what I'm telling you is that your perspective can change it quicker than a pill. That's how this whole conversation started. I caught a lot of shit for it because people are super upset because a lot of people in America, with depression being the number one disability in America, are on these medications that I am wanting fervently to talk about. SSRIs, anything that it boosts your serotonin levels, things like that. I don't know if you guys have read any of the medical papers that have come out lately, because big media doesn't really want you to see it. But there are people out there that are challenging those very ideas right now in the medical industry and calling bullshit on psychology's approach to what we think causes depression. Because, if depression is caused by a lack of serotonin, then you should be able to just increase the amount of serotonin in people and they would be happier. But, we go and we look at like all the mass shooters and the suicide rates and the things like that. All these people have some things in common, and they're like mood enhancers or serotonin inhibitors or serotonin. I'm getting scattered, man. I really probably should have wrote down my approach, but what I want to talk about today is real solutions versus big pharma solutions, because to me, the psychology and the psychiatry fields are snake oil shit, man. We do a terrible job of addressing mental health issues here in America. And as we mainstream these ideas, we make it even worse for future generations by disregarding the idea of coping mechanisms, disregarding the idea of perspective, disregarding the idea of looking at the positive things in life rather than the negative. And what we're developing is a lot of new problems and even worse problems for our children, because we've accepted the idea that we can't do anything about our depression except for take a pill. We're passing that idea to our children, and we're making excuses for them, and we're telling them, hey, it's okay, you're depressed, you got this issue. And instead of them dealing with it in a healthy and like non-addictive, non-harmful, non-side effect side effect ass ways, we do a lot of fucked up shit, medicines particularly. We don't look at our diet particularly. There's a lot of studies now that indicate kids with hyperactivity probably have terrible diets or terrible environments. And, there's a lot to be read about that. And the FDA doesn't give a shit. I mean, we know that the FDA doesn't give a shit because they totally don't give a shit about heavy metals and toxins in your baby food. What makes you think that they give a shit about anything after that, These depressed people don't eat right. They don't work out. They don't take vitamins. They don't get sunlight. They don't get out of nature as much as they should. They're whiny little junky bitches. Now, I'm not going to take that approach, Facebook user that I can't see your name, but I do want to say that I think that your environment means a lot to your depression, more so than your serotonin levels. I'm going to say that your mental fortitude and how you look at life has a lot to do with your depression. I'm going to say with how you manage your life has a lot to do with your depression. And it makes people mad whenever I suggest these things, because I'm going to say it again. You are in charge of your own happiness. This is the positive message. This isn't me criticizing you. This isn't me telling you that you're stupid for taking these pills. This is me trying to suggest alternatives so that you can try to find some true happiness, man, because a lot of us just want to put our faith our money and our health in the hands of big pharma and the medical industry. And it's very clear and very obvious that they don't give a fuck about anything but making money. Okay. So, like, man. And then when you listen to these horror stories where people talk about getting off of gabapentin and shit like that, as Mama Goots is reporting, they're terrible, you know? There's lots of remedies, but what I want to talk about is just our willingness to trusting. Like, people get so mad when you challenge the idea of a chemical imbalance, but I challenge anybody to go out there and just do a little Google research and look up how they find out if you have a chemical imbalance. They ask you questions. And if you have 5 symptoms linked to depression, then you are clinically depressed and declared to have a chemical imbalance. Never mind that we don't know what those chemical levels are supposed to be. Never mind that we can't test you in any way to tell. We could tell you if your hormones are high or low. We could tell you if your serotonin is present. We can't tell you how much of it's in your brain. We can't tell you where that level should be. We don't know any of that shit. We don't know any of those answers. So basically, everything that these psychiatrists and psychologists are feeding you is bullshit. It's total, complete bullshit. Now, Zoloft, antidepressant medication, Xanax, maybe they did make you happier. But I'm going to tell you that was in a placebo sense or something, you know? Like, we don't even know if these medications do what they say they do. And we have no way of testing and knowing these. Now, we can give you Zoloft, and we could test your serotonin levels before the Zoloft. Then we could test your serotonin levels after the Zoloft. And we could definitely see if it's raised your serotonin levels. But raising your serotonin level doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but I can read. And what I'm reading is medical papers where doctors have done studies that show high serotonin levels do not mean happy people. So when we think about the basis of diagnosis from the psychiatry, mental health side, it's all bullshit. I mean, they literally hinge 90% of everything they say on the chemical imbalance idea. And they cannot prove, or nor do they try to actually test you for a chemical imbalance. Now, I know people step up and say they had hormone imbalances. It's different. And I believe that treating your hormone imbalances with serotonin is not a good approach. Do I think that it's the most beneficial approach? No. I would think that adjusting the problem that makes your hormones off, thyroid relations, whatever it may be, would be the best way to treat the problem. I'm not a doctor. I'm just guessing. It just seems to me that the root cause is what you want to fix. So, like, are you sitting around and you're depressed right now? Why are you? Ask yourself why you're depressed. Is there something specific that's making you sad, or are you just sad? And if you are just sad, why are you just sad? I mean, you have to take a look at your perspective at this point, I think. Do you look on the bright side of things, or do you look on the bad side of things for everything? I've been through some shit in my lifetime, so I'm just like a look on the bright side kind of things. I've always been a silver lining kind of guy. Can I get down in the dumps? Can I be a negative Nancy? Fuck yes. But the majority of my life, I've been like well, that happened. But the good news is, I like to say that. The good news is, it drives my friends crazy. They'll come over here and they want to be all depressed. I ain't with that shit. Don't come around me all depressed every fucking day, whining about how shitty something is. Do you ever have anything good happen to you, bro? You're overlooking things, man. Like, the thing that bothers me is I've been in some really low spots in my life. And it's annoying to me when people with good health, the ability to change their life, whine about their life. That shit. Because, like, that, I guess that's what I really want to say. You're in charge of your own fucking happiness. There's not a pill out there that's going to give you happiness, okay? And if it does make you feel happy, it's a fucking mask. And when you stop taking the pill, guess what? Your ass gonna be unhappy again. Okay? Look at your environment. Are you in a positive environment? Are you in a place where you can feel like yourself or be yourself, where you can talk freely and openly? Do you have, like, people around you that support you? If not, get some. Find some. And I know people make excuses to stay in negative fucking cycles. They do it. They love it there. I really honestly think that a lot of people just like being unhappy. Then in turn, the mainstream has developed this idea that depression is something that you can't help. It's outside of your realm of control because you need big pharma to fix it. Come on, man. You know as well as I do that your happiness is your responsibility. Okay? It is. I don't know. you know, people could get upset about that idea all they want, but the truth of the fucking matter is that your happiness is your responsibility. Let me check and see who just got to my house. I wasn't expecting anybody. It's my wife's Halloween decorations moving around out there. I don't take my meds. Well, I'm not suggesting anybody just stop taking their meds. I'm not practicing medicine. I'm not a psychiatrist. Okay, but I am happy. I'll tell you that. I'm happy. And I've got some things in my life that I could not be happy about if I dwelled on them, you know? 2 of my kids I don't have much of a relationship with. If I sat around and I thought about that all fucking day, I would be unhappy as shit. My approach to it is I'm right here if my kids need me. I've always been right here. I'll always be right here. And they'll have to figure it out for themselves what's right and what's wrong. And I can't force anybody to do anything. The only person I'm in charge of is myself. So that being said, I can't control those kids. I can't make those kids like me or want to be around me. And I can't make their mom behave any different. I can't do anything. So my approach to that situation that could cause me a lot of depression and negative feelings is to just be what I need to be and control myself, because that's ultimately the only thing that I've got, is to make sure that I'm doing the shit that I need to do. And then everybody else is their responsibility. Okay? That's my approach to things. What can I do about it? If the answer is nothing, then I have to find a way to accept the situation. That's the problem. A lot of us don't want to accept any situations. We want to think that we can control everything. Well, guess what? You can't control shit, man. You can control yourself. You can control the environment that you're in by removing yourself from terrible environments. I just think that life is simple, okay? I know that it's complex. I know that every day is a challenge. I know that life has some very complicated fucking subjects involved with it. But I also know that life is very simple. I know that first and foremost, you got to love yourself. And happiness comes from within. You can't find it in a pill. You can't find it in other people. You can't find it in things or places, man. It's in you. And you got to discover what makes you happy. You know, when I ask a lot of people, why aren't you happy? What do you want to do? You know, and my thing is to always make yourself happy. Like, do something. If you're unhappy, do something that makes you happy, man. And I ask people, what makes you happy? What would you like to do? And everybody has the same answer. I don't know. Well, are you even sure that you're unhappy? Or are you just bored? Because, you know, you got to press and do the things that make you happy, man. These aren't monetary things, man. You know, these aren't, and don't get me wrong, man, money make your life stress-free, but 2 chicks at one time. Well, Brad, that is a very low ceiling. I have no doubt that in 2022 that you can achieve your super high aspirations of doing 2 chicks at one time. You know, it would make you happy. I understand, but I don't know, man. I think that we all need a perspective change. You know, it's just funny to me that even though we're seeing these papers out here that are saying all these things that I'm saying, Zoloft is under question, Seroquel is under question, all these drugs that are being prescribed by the fucking pharmaceutical industry or the medical industry under the guise of making you feel better that don't make you feel any better. And you just keep doing it. You keep trying it. And you keep believing these guys and they keep misleading you. Dude, you can't find happiness at Walgreens. You can't. That's my point. I'm not going to be I'm already off on a tangent. I don't want to try to be any more educational than that. I'm going to tell you that you're in charge of your own happiness. And I know there's some people like, oh, you know, you got a medical ailment. You know, I had a friend of mine, Nikki, she got MS. She's like, well, my depression would be better if I could treat my MS. Well, you know what? That's fucked up. But you should enjoy the time that you got here. And having MS, you should enjoy it while you're healthy and happy and while you can. You know, and I don't want to be grim or dark, but that MS, that isn't a good thing, man. You know, and I'm sorry. And I can understand how that could cause you depression, but how do you want to spend your life, I guess? You got to make a choice. Do you want to be depressed forever? Because that's something you can't change. So you're going to have to work on accepting it, you know? Acceptance, coping mechanisms. We need to learn how to deal with life again. When I was a kid, people used to say tough shit to me on a regular basis. Tough shit. I didn't like it at the time. I was like, God damn it, this is bullshit. It's not tough shit. The fact of the matter is, it is tough shit. That's life, man. There's no way that we're ever going to be able to build the safe space that people try to build for their kids these days. We're not going to be able to wrap them up in enough bubble wrap. We're not going to be able to hide them for society, because once we hide them for society, now they're not unhappy because they're being bullied, but they're unhappy because they don't have society. They don't have any interactions. They don't have any people. They don't, whatever the deal may be. The only way to find happiness is to make that shit yourself. It's hard. Yeah. Especially when you've never done it before. Imagine you go your whole life believing that your serotonin levels are fucked up and that these pills are going to make you better. And then someone comes along with the truth bomb that bam. Hey, bro, you're in charge of your own happiness. What? It's fucked up, man. I'll walk until the day I can't, but I ain't stopping now. I like that, Kim. I like that, I don't know what all that idiopathic peripheral neuropathy is, but I hope it gets better. No, I said that. Fix it? No, sometimes you can't fix it. That's where we go back to the question. Is this something that you can control, Benji? If the answer is yes, then it's up to you to fix it. If the answer is no, then it's up to you to accept it. That's it. Acceptance. You can't fix what you can't control. And the only thing that you're in control of, again, is yourself. Let's not lose the message, man. That's my message. That's my directions to a good life. Is it in your control? If yes, then control it and fix it. Is it out of your control? No? Yes? Accept it. Those are the only two options you really got, man. Taking a serotonin inducer won't help that. It won't change the situation that's making you unhappy. Sometimes you can't change the situation that's making you unhappy because guess what? Tough shit, right? I mean, we covered that. Life doesn't give a fuck. Some people don't give a fuck. A lot of times our unhappiness is caused by other people. We want them to be people that they are never going to be, but we want them to be the people that we want them to be. That's never going to happen. Accept it and move on. I know it seems simple. It seems so simple. You want to be mad at me about it. It's that simple. You have to accept it. Do what you can do. Dude, I promise you that if you're doing everything in your life the way that you're supposed to be doing it, and you're holding up with your end of the bargains and responsibilities, and you're being the person that you need to be, you're going to be happy no matter what anybody else is doing. This is something I've learned. Because seriously, as long as I'm living the life the way I know I should, being a good person, not tearing other people down or making other people's lives shitty, knowing I'm in charge of my own happiness, handling my responsibilities, being the person that I want to be around. You know what I'm saying? That's that treat people the way you want to be treated. Can I accept it? Can I fix it? That's it. The life is that fucking simple, man. And when you figure that shit out and when you're living your best life, no one can stop that. No one. Unless you let them destroy that. And that's the truth, people. I want to teach coping mechanism. Life sucks and it's shitty sometimes. And it gives you things that hurt, that sting you right down to your core, man, that just darken your soul. But what can you do? Let it change you? Let it mold you? No, because then it wins. That's it. I caught some shit for smoking pot earlier. Well, some people treat their depression with pot. Listen, man, if you're out there treating your depression with pot, good for you, okay? Because pot, not addictive. It's not attached to mass shootings or suicidal thoughts. It's not attached with drug addiction or overdosing. I say let the natural remedies fly. Try some mushrooms. Some people need some help. I feel like mushrooms helped me out of a depression once. I'd gone through a pretty terrible breakup and I was feeling shitty. And a friend of mine, Mikey Chaplin, invited me out. We went out that night. I had no idea, but he sprung some mushrooms on me later. I was like, hey, you want to eat some of these mushrooms? I was like, fuck yeah. We ate the mushrooms. We sat in a casino. And by the end of the night, I never felt depressed about that situation again, because while I was on those mushrooms, I picked up a new perspective and a different way to look at it. You know, will it work for everybody? Hell, I don't know. Is it worth a shot? Yeah, absolutely. I'll eat mushrooms 100 times before I try Seroquel once. I don't trust Big Pharma. I don't trust the medical industry. I think they're great at fixing veins. Like, you know, if you need your vein bored out 30 over because you've been eating greasy foods, they're great at that shit. You need your bone fixed, they're great at that shit. You need a tumor removed, they're all right at that shit. But I really truly believe that they would suppress information that could make Americans healthier. And what I'm doing right now is I'm giving you information that can make you healthier. You are in charge of your own happiness. It should be empowering. It really should be. All right. Anyway, Big Pharma is a joke. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see that I've got some links and things you can read pertaining to this subject. You know, I feel like they're pretty hard to deny, pretty hard to look at. You could go do some math and some look at your stuff. I got to run, but what's your schedule for lives? I caught you on a YT on YouTube. Kim, I have no real schedule for the lives. I should, man. I'd really like to put together like a production team and do this every day. When I say a production team, it would be very little work. If you're out there and you're interested in helping further this whole whatever the fuck this is along, hit me up, man. I'm excited. I would be super excited to add helpers or someone who could, you know, push this or pursue this a little more, because just by myself, it's fun. I like doing it, but I'm just sort of, I don't know, staling out. I'm just sort of like, I don't know whether to keep going or just to fucking go work in my yard. You know what I mean? I like talking to people though. I love talking about these subjects. I love challenging mainstream ideas. I really do, you know? So what up there, Daniel Beckelman? What up, dude? I want to thank everybody for watching today. I don't know. I only did this for about 27 minutes, but I want you to think about what we've talked about here. Remember that you're in charge of your own happiness, man. You really are. Okay. And I'm going to say it again, and I stand on it. There isn't a pill out there that works better at curing depression than addressing and dealing with the issues that are causing the depression. Sometimes dealing with the issues doesn't mean fixing them. It means accepting them as unfixable. I know that sucks, doesn't it? Well, how could I be happy if I haven't taken care of that? You accept that you are powerless to change what has already happened. Okay. You can make amends and you can move on. And that's how you get yourself happiness, man. You know, even if you've made mistakes, man, you have to accept the fact that you've made the mistake, do your best to make amends, and then move the fuck on. You're only in control of yourself. You can't force anyone to forgive you. No one can force you to forgive them. The only thing that you can do to change the entire world is to lead by example, to be the person you'd like to be the person you'd like to see, and to be the change you'd like to see. And I know this shit sounds cliche, but it's the truth. I hope that you guys have a very happy hump day. I hope that it is free to be happy, Kim. I like that. It's free to be happy. At any rate, I'm going to get off here, man. It's the last swamp ass day of the year, I think. It's 93 degrees outside right now in beautiful downtown Peevely. Out-of-pocket bills are 4,000. Shareable knowledge. There you go, Greg. I like it, man. At any rate, I'm going to get off here. Pot's kicking in. I got shit to do. It's swamp ass 5,000 out there. Enjoy the last hot day of the year. Tomorrow's going to be a lot cooler. The high is 70 degrees. I can't wait. I'm ready for some motherfucking fall. I'm ready for all that shit. All right. I'll leave you by telling you one more time. You are in charge of your own happiness. Toodaloo, motherfuckers. Later.